request from a subscriber and a friend. Um, he wanted me to read one of his favorite books from high school. He's been out of school for quite some time, but he wanted me to read his favorite book, so I am, and it's called Soldier X. It is based off a true story, and it's from Wolfston. Wolfson. Dol- blah, 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 blah. Don Wolfson.
Can you not speak?
No, I cannot.
I'm so sorry. I have this.
And this is from World War II, which I absolutely love books from World War II, and it is based on a true story of a German war survivor, Soldier X. Um, and this says for Pamela, my wife, my love, my best friend. Prologue. My name is Eric Brandit. I live near Seattle, Washington, in a small house in a wooded area looking over a lake. I like the woods. They're quiet and make for a pleasant place to write. I also hate them. They bring back dark memories of battles fought long ago. Most of my friends and acquaintances in the area call me Eric, or Professor, or Dr. Brandt. Though none of them know it, I prefer a different name. I prefer to be called X. It is simply a letter, but it has far more meaning to me than my real name. I am no longer a young man. My once sharp blue eyes are now faded, and I need to wear my reading glasses. My hair, once blonde, is now steel gray, and I wear it long. My once boyish, peach fuzz face is now bearded. The beard covers the scars on my face, put there when a machine gun bullet went into my open mouth and out of my left cheek. I walk with a bit of a limp, the result of being hit in the knee by a large piece of shrapnel when I was 16. I wear a prosthesis, an artificial arm and hand. I lost my left arm above the elbow and received other wounds and injuries during the Second World War. After the First War, I became a history teacher. Bleh. After the war, I became a history teacher. As a teacher, one of the first things my students always notice is my prosthesis. I can never say that word right. I see fear and revulsion in their eyes, but I also a great deal of curiosity. In the answer to their unspoken question, and to put the matter to rest, I simply told my students I lost my arm during the Second World War. During during the fighting in Germany, I was hit by a machine gun bullet just above the elbow. I would tell them, but though they clearly wanted me to, I would never tell them more. It must have been terrifying to fighting the Nazis. I remember one of my students saying to me after class one day that the Nazis, the Germans, were out to conquer the world. Somebody had to stop them. The boy seemed to look up to me as some sort of hero. And like all of my students, he made an incorrect assumption about my role in the war. He assumed I had been an American GI fighting the Germans. I never told him or any of my students that it was the other way around. During World War II, I was the German soldier. To you. In Dead Man's Clothes, March 21st, 1944. I can still smell the stench of the troop train. I can still feel myself sway with emotion as it pounded eastward from Germany toward the battlefields of Russia. The train was old, a relic that had been pressed into service because of the war. Once elegant and used perhaps for wealthy people going on vacation, time had rendered it into something ornately, ornately dis- decrepit. Filthy gold tassels hung from the fade green velvet curtains. The windows were oval in shape, and the glass yellowed by age. Stuffing stuffing sprouted from seats upholstered in the cracking, scaling looking leather. At the back of the car, behind a curtained off alcove, was a toilet emptied directly into the tracks. That emptied directly into the tracks. Unlike or like myself, most of those on the train were young boys, teenagers, most being soldiers in the German army. We had little in common: fear, uncertainty, homesickness. Those were really those were the only real bonds that united us. We're we were also alike in that we wore dead man's clothes. By truck and rail, the boots the boots and gray green uniforms of those killed in battle had been returned to Germany for washing and mending. The sleeves of my jacket had jagged little rips that had been painstakingly sewn, and my shirt collar had dark blood stains all the way around. I found myself wondering about the soldier who died in the uniform. I wonder who he had been and how he had been killed. Would I too die in the uniform? Would it be then passed along to another boy, someone who would then wonder about me, about who I had been? Oh, somebody showed up.
That's
That's you. Hi, you.
I'm,
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. Give me a piece of cookie dough. Thank you, you.
No,
Oh, give me a piece of cookie dough.
no,
Cookie dough.
but my cookie though. Also, there was an eggshell in the cookie dough.
Did you eat the eggshell?
No,
Okay.
only a little bit of it though.
Mm. All right.
Is that a bad thing?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. Mhm. The train was carrying us toward the front lines, departed early that morning from Nuremberg, Germany. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I am at this point. It was March 21st, 1944, my 16th birthday. I told no one. The fact that it was my birthday was no importance except to me. You're nothing. You're Volk. Your Volk are everything. That was a motto of Hitler, Jugend, or HJ, the Hitler Youth. For 5 years, the words had been drilled into my head, but not until sitting there on the troop train and missed all the others I had felt them so keenly. I was nothing. I did not matter. According to Adolf Hitler, my only country, my my country mattered. You were born to die for Germany. In 1939, Hitler declared membership of the Jugend ma- mandatory. Parents who objected were imprisoned. Some were hanged. I had no choice. I volunteered for service. Only my father, who had died when I was a baby, was German. My mother and grandparents were Russian with forged papers. They had immigrated illegally to Germany in the late 1920s. They had learned to speak German fluently without accent. They had renovated the old house and turning the downstairs into a restaurant and the upstairs into our living quarters. They pay taxes, and in every way, that's what really mattered. They had become good German citizens. Nevertheless, should the SS discover their background, they would have been deported, perhaps killed. When I joined the Hitler Youth, Austria, and the Czechoslovakia Czechoslovakia had already been annexed by Germany. Oh, hey honey, how you doing, love? I am actually reading Soldier X right now. I'm doing it for a subscriber and a friend. He wanted to hear me read it, um, so that's what I'm doing. Yes. What? Hi. Hi. That's not part of the book. Are you waving hi?
I guess.
We got a hand, no face, no arm, just a hand. Kind of creepy. And we got the bag. You see the Novus. Just no face with the Novus. And I don't know what the Novus was doing. I'm guessing getting a bottle of water because this washed plastic bag just fly in the back. Okay, can I go back to reading?
I'll think about it. Yeah, sure.
Well, while you're thinking, I'm going to do it.
Oh, I don't think that's how that works.
It is for me. Now you make me go backwards. Oh, I got the like. Hey, Grace Allen, how are you, honey? But my lovely mod in the back, who is supposed to be modding for me right now,
I'm on it.
is going to say hi to everybody for me while I read so I can stop getting interrupted. What? All right. When I joined the Hitler Youth, Austria and Czechoslovakia had already been annexed by Germany to create what Hitler called Lebensraum, a living space for all the German people. On September 1st, 1931, World War II began in earnest. On that day, we invaded Poland. It fell to us in 16 short days: Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. By 1940, all had fallen. Clearly, no longer was it Limstrom that Hitler desired. It was all of Europe and then the whole world. Early in the war, one of our allies had been Russia, known as the Soviet Union. The alliance had been an uneasy one. Russia, under the leadership of Stalin, was a communist country. Hitler was anti communist, and it was well known that he did not trust Stalin any more than Stalin trusted him. On June 22nd, 1941, we attacked Russia as well. A cloud of confusion settled over our home. My mother and grandparents now lived in terror of being found out, and I felt greatly torn. By birth, I was half Russian, yet Germany was my country, and I wore the uniform of Hitler Youth, the black pants, brown shirt, and red armband. Before the invasion of Russia, all had seemed so simple. I enjoyed most of the activities of the Jugend,
Mama,
the sports, the campouts, the physical fitness programs, even the military training, which consisted mostly of target practice, yes.
I got a question. What book are we reading this one?
We are reading Soldier X. It was asked by one of my subscribers and a good friend, so that is what we are reading at the moment. He asked me to read that this morning, so that's what I'm doing.
I just need to know it.
And it is a true story.
I just need to know it so I can put it down and pin the thing.
Okay.
If I can pin it.
Hi, Grace Allen. How are you, honey? Nova's gonna say hi to everybody for me that joins in, so I can read. Just read. She's gonna watch the chats more than me. So,
I can't. I can't pin the thing that I put in.
oops, shit.
What are you doing?
I took you off minute. I took you off moderator. There we go. You're back. Sorry, baby.
Oh, huzzah!
Huzzah! All right. Pin message. You're pinned. So what do you do, baby?
Do I put him in timeout?
No, for that, just kick him out. I'm not dealing with it.
Okay.
Can you kick him out or no?
Give me a minute. I don't think so. What?
Okay.
Maybe.
You were hidden. You put him in timeout, I think.
I just put him on. User's message will be hidden.
All right. So we're going to actually. I'm going to remove you as standard mod. I'm going to put you as managing mod.
Huzzah!
And add as moderator. Managing mod. Managing mod can block or uh, can uh, can manage blocked messages and change the chat modes live and also capabilities of standard mods. Standard mods can remove messages, hide, or put timers and timeouts. So I'll put you as a managing mod. There you go. You're a managing mod. Okay. E. So you should be able to kick them out. I'm not sure, but we'll find out. All right. Anyways, back to what I was doing. Best of all, best of all, were the dances and other get togethers with the girls' branch of the Jugend. The Bund Worcester League of Gentlemen Girls. I do not speak German, so League of Gentlemen Girls or German Gentlemen Girls.
What?
League of German Girls.
You cannot
There we go.
speak.
I cannot. Upon entering the Hitler Youth, we were given a choice of entering different groups within the organization. Those interested in flying, for example, would apply for the Flying Youth. My choice was Die HJ, which we studied language. Essentially, we were being prepared to become interrogators or spies. My French and English were passable. However, having been raised in a household where Russian was spoken with as much ease and facility as German, it was Russian that I excelled. Our teacher, Herr Cross, was quite good. Still, he sometimes made errors in his pronunciation, inflection, and use idemic expression. I held my tongue. Correcting one's teacher was simply not done. And one kept quiet about the torture and murder of Jews, foreigners, communists, and everyone else the Nazis considered undesirables. The inevitable consequence of criticizing the government was simply to become just one more undesirable. In my hometown of Wilsburg, a man named Zoll spoke out against the invasion of Russia. His tongue was cut out, and his tongue was cut out. Then he was then he and three suspected of then he and three suspected communists were hanged. Then there was the death bus. painted in a ghastly green, included including its windows. It was in the woods some 20 kilometers or so from Billsburg. Cripples and mental defectives were taken to the thing and put to death, gassed, and thrown in with them was a Lutheran minister who had publicly protested the hideous practice. To the horror of all Germans, in 1940, the bombing of our country began. Each year it got worse. By 1943, some of our cities lay in ruins. Food, gasoline, and numerous other goods were in short supply and strictly rationed. Our days of easy conquests were long over, since the British, Americans, and Russians held firm against our forces and began to attack. Suddenly, we were on the defensive and very afraid. From the battlefields, especially those of Russia, maimed and crippled German soldiers returned with blank, dead stares. Though the newspapers told of only minor setbacks, the tales told by the soldiers were very different. They spoke of horror, slaughter, and retreat from the Eastern Front. Minsk, Kiev, uh, Harvok, Dunsk, Belgorod, and all these places and others, tens and thousands of our men were killed. Whole companies of the uh, don't know how to say this word.
Okay.
Warshmat. Our army literally ceased to exist. I was 11 when the war had started, with my friends enthralled and the hair in the back of my neck standing up. I watched as parades. I wa- bleh. I had watched parades as ranks after rank of soldiers had passed in review. The cheers of the onlookers drowned out by the thundering footfalls of their hobnailed boot jackboots. How powerful they had looked, how fearsome, how invincible. At the time I had felt cheated. I dreamed of being one of them, a hero in my mind. I saw myself leading an attack on the enemy position. Single handedly, I would destroy it. But then I would be wounded like many other soldiers. But then I would be wounded, most likely in the shoulder. Beautiful nurses would take care of me. Officers would pin medals on me, praise my courage, and thank me for what I had done for my country. In April of 1944, males 16 years of age were declared eligible to fight. I was sick with terror that I was only 15 and did not matter. By the date of your birth, I see, said a very flat little field bell sergeant in introduction center. You'll be 16 by the time you reach wherever it is you're gonna go. He studied my records, and undoubtedly your command of the Russian language will land you in a spot as an interrogator or cause you to be used in some simple capacity. He banged the words eligible on my papers with a rubber stamp and dismissed me, then gestured for the next boy to step forward. Thus, thus it was that I found myself on a troop train headed to war. As it screamed across the landscape, I kept thinking, there must be some mistake. That this could not really be happening. I wanted to get off. I wanted to go home. The train thundered onward. Hey, how you doing? Is that my troll?
I guess so.
There's a certain guy that comes on here and he says hit the gym. Do not get rid of him.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Because he's a subscriber. He trolls me. Not for fun.
Yeah, your
Sitting
glasses are
next
crooked.
sitting next to me, huh?
Your glasses are crooked. Fix them.
Somebody said that.
No, I did.
Oh,
Fix them.
they're crooked. You know how many people come on here and tell me my
I
glasses are
know. I.
crooked?
This is why I hate watching your live. Because I only noticed them on camera.
Did you notice that too?
No, lag. Okay, now I
Thank you.
did.
At least it wasn't wasted. And again, sitting next to me was a freckled faced boy named Jacob. He jabbered a lot and his at first about his family and their business. His father, he told me, was an apple dealer and was often traveling. He would buy up orchards in the spring when the flowers were on the trees. Then the apples ripened. Jacob and his sisters would pick and pack them. Our apples are shipped all over Germany, he told me proudly. My father died of influenza when I was a baby, I told Jacob. I'm an only child and I live with my mother and her parents, my grandparents, in an apartment above our restaurant in Billsburg. Jacob looked at me expectantly, as though I had more to tell. But there was really nothing of interest to say, and talking about my family only made me more homesick, especially for my mother. When she had seen me off at the train station in Nuremberg that morning, she had looked shrunken and shriveled and wore dark clothes like a mourner at a funeral. Mine. Hey, Joshly. Happy birthday, honey. Jacob plucked an undersized booklet from the breast of his pocket of his jacket. In its pages filled with maps and tourist information, he seemed to be he seemed to find a refuge from reality. Shortly he had been reading aloud from it as we traveled eastward across Germany and into Czechoslovakia. The train slowed as it passed through Prague. Prague was the capital of Czechoslovakia, he had told me. Now we have traveled 120 kilometers east from Nuremberg. He rattled, as he rattled on about the history and the wonders of Prague, I looked out and saw a dreary city that had become simply a supply depot and a garrison for our troops. I wished my self appointed tour guide would be quiet. I didn't feel very well. The train had become increasingly hot and stuffy. My face was wet with perspiration, and my uniform damply to my body. My head ached, and my stomach, and the stench coming from the open toilet. My head ached, and the stench from coming from the open toilet, only a few steps behind where I sat, was making me nauseous. At the moment, the history of Prague had very little interest for me. Perhaps an hour and an half an hour, the train again slowed and cracked through Krakow, Poland. I don't know how to say that. Our bombing raids had gutted the whole sections of the city. We passed one long we passed one long street on which a blackened body hung from almost every streetlight. Partisans, I heard someone say. Jacob, the tour guide, was too immersed in his booklet to see the horrid sight. At the center of Crow, 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 I don't know, is the is what is known as the Old City. He droned on, a fortress, which during the 13th century was moated and walled. He glanced out the window for a moment and then returned his attention to his book. Next, we should be passing through Tarnow, Poland. He shrugged rounded he shrugged rounded shoulders, but After that, well, it's anyone's guess. Not even my travel guide knew exactly where we were headed. Our commanders kept us in the dark about our destination, so we simply sat, bored and scared, and the train raced across Poland toward the war. As I have said, most of the 40 or so soldiers in the car, like me, were new conscripts. We did not know each other, and nor had we even trained together. Other than target practice like jugging, there had only been 3 short weeks of actual military training. During this time, I learned how to march, salute, how to say yes, sir, and no, yes, sir, and no, sir, and how to not question orders. Because ammunition was short in supply, I was taught how to assemble, load, and clean a Mauser rifle, but only rarely was I allowed to fire one. I tossed the practice grenades at a wooden cutouts of soldiers. That then was the extent of my preparation for war, as it was for the other boys on the train. There was also there were also a handful of veterans on the train, many of whom had been wounded, treated, and now were being sent back to battle. Most just quietly grim Most just sat quietly, grim expressions on their faces. But one of the men, about 30 or so, kept wandering around the car. When Jacob got up and made his way to the curtained off alcove, the toilet, the veterans decided to take his seat. He picked up the boy's pack and began going through it. When Jacob returned, it was to find the veteran was enjoying a sandwich he had found in the pack. "This is quite good," said the veteran. "Did your mamma make it for you?" Stunned, my freckle faced tour guide didn't know what to say or do. Across the aisle, I saw the boys looking on, their expressions both curious and apprehensive. The veteran, eating the sandwich, was not especially a big man, but there was something terribly frightening about him, something murderous, and there was no question that he would have his way. He tossed Jacob his pack and rifle. Red faced, humiliated, Jacob made his way down the aisle in search of a place to sit. Pickles and knackwurst. That was the sandwich in which the man was eating. He kept his eyes on me as he ate, sending chills down my spine. When he was done, he wiped his hands on my shirt as though it was quite a natural thing to do. "I lost these at Stalingrad." He held up his left hand. 3 fingers were missing. "Now they are sending me back to Russia. I don't think that's fair. Do you?" "No," I replied, keeping my voice steady as I could. "It's not just because of my fingers that I should not be sent back. It's because a man can only endure only so much. The bombing, the artillery, especially the artillery." For the moment For a long moment, he had lapsed into silence. "Perhaps they are sending me back because they know I will not die, because I have the power, the strength, I can take care of myself." He looked at me squarely in the eye. "Do you sense my power, boy?" "Yes." He nodded, grinning with self satisfaction. "You're going to love Russia." He launched a litany of horror stories. The worst was about partisans, men, women, and children who fought in small, roving bands and who had sabotaged a troop train like ours on the way to the front. There were bodies and parts and there were bodies and parts of bodies everywhere, he had told me with a seemingly glee. Most Mostly they were Just kinder, stupid children like you, not even got a chance to fire their rifles. With that, he got up, belched, and wandered off, probably in search of others to torment, leaving me scared to death and sure a train would blow up at any moment. A while later, Jacob returned to his seat beside me, his booklet in his pocket. He sat rigidly in silence, staring out the window as the foreign landscape flashed by. Much of it was scenery, was serene, pretty, but then Jacob pointed out, horror in his eyes. I turned in time to see a church that had been set up as a temporary hospital. A wooden cart was headed away from the plain in the direction of the deep trench. It was being pulled by men, not horses, and it was filled to overflowing with corpses. The next afternoon, we reached the town of Gruszków, Poland, about 30 kilometers from the Russian border. Although seemingly undamaged, the town was strangely deserted. Lugging, lugging our packs and rifles, we debarked the train, filled wobbles, sergeants, formed us into formed us into ranks and marched us, more than 300 of us, across open fields. Thistle burrs caught our pants. Underbrush scraped our legs. The sky was turning black, and the wind gusted as we approached a huge defunct factory of some sort. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and I could only guess what it had once been. Perhaps lumber had been processed. The first shed we passed, a large open air affair of corrugated tin and wood supports, housed a large bandsaw. Farther on were several sheds. All of them were piles of warped boards, except for one, in which there was a kind of dredging machine with a string of rusty scoops. Otto, I do not know how to spell or read this. This is in German. I don't have a clue, and I really should have read this book first so I could look up this and see how to pronounce this. Okay, at the command of our field levels, we stopped and they quickly snapped to attention in front of the enormous building. Seeming on the verge of collapse, it sagged itself in the middle and was tilted to one side. Its tin roof was half eaten away by rust. After a long wait, we were ordered forward into the building. Inside the place was shadowy, freakish. Inside the place was shadowy, freakish. Dead, monstrous machinery towered. Outside, the wind picked up, picked up. The roof rattled and banged. An electric generator whirled. Bare bulbs draped overhead and gave everything a spooky quality, like some kind of badly lit nightmare. And there were nightmare people in there with us. Not far from where I put down my pack and bedroll was a crew of skeletons, emaciated, head shaven, wearing striped pajama like garments. They were they waited to serve us, standing behind steaming kettles set out on large wood crates. Most had yellow star of David sewn on their ragged, dirty clothes, making them marking them as Jews. The master sergeant quickly called for attention. With your mess kits, line up. My God, this is what we were doing with our own countrymen? Is this the Germany we are fighting for? I waited my turn in line, each step taking me closer to the people. Never before had I seen human beings in such conditions. Eyes downcast, as an old man handed me a quarter loaf of black bread. A girl who had not been more could not have been more than 9 or 10 ladled soup into my outstretched mess tin. I thanked her. Danke, I said. Her response was an attempted grin so rigid it seemed it would have cracked her face open. I returned to my place and ate without appetite. Jacob spotted me and asked if he could join me. Yes, of course, I said, glad for the company. A moment later, a tall, gangly boy, who I would later learn his name was Oscar, joined Jacob and me. The three of us ate in silence, and as most did in that strange, cavernous building, still there was an undertone of voices. Behind us was a group of boys in a nasal voice, one declaring that Jews across the way were an exception, that most Jews, as we had been told by the government, were simply relocated to work camps and were well treated. I wanted to believe this, perhaps we all did, but deep down, I knew those people were no exception. This bunch must be criminals, the nasal voice continued. Do you think that's true? That they're criminals? Jacob asked. I don't know, I replied. I don't think I know much of anything anymore. I hope they are criminals, said Oscar. Large eyes and a narrow face blinked, because if they're not, then we are. At dawn after after the meal of weak tea and hard rolls, we were issued additional ammunition and ordered outside. The field Webbles organized us into squads. Jacob, Oscar, and I were assigned to the 7th platoon of the 14th squad of the 4th Infantry Division. There were 19 of us in the platoon, one medic, 15 recruits, and 3 veterans. A man named Dobelman was our platoon leader. He was he sickened and terrified me. The war had turned his face into something grotesque, hideous. He looked as though he was wearing a fright mask. He was missing one ear, only only a small flap of the other remained. His entire face was an impossible jigsaw puzzle of scars, as did most of them. He wore a whistle around his neck. He blew it. He ordered us into line and attention, then commanded us to stand at parade rest. We slammed our rifle butts into the ground, and then with a straight, rigid arm, each soldier held his rifle by the barrel at an angle to his right leg. Doubleman strode down our ranks, talking to us in turn. Do I frighten you, son? He demanded upon one recruit. No, sir. He came a shouted response. He's a liar, isn't he? He yelled at the next boy. Yes, sir. I mean, no, sir. I mean, I don't know, sir. Yes, you don't know what you mean? Doubleman said Dolman evenly. He strode past several more recruits, staring each other in the staring in each eye. He stopped next to me in front of Oscar. Oscar was so tall and skinny that Dolman had looked up at had to look up at him, and still it was to him that he spoke directly, at the same time delivering a speech to the whole platoon. I'm not here to frighten you, his voice softened. I am here to save your lives, and even your pretty faces. An attempted smile, it came out crooked. Do exactly as I tell you at all times. I cannot guarantee anything except that I will increase your chances of surviving this war. You are going to be facing men who are going to try to kill you. You must kill them first to save yourself and the men beside you. He stepped back a pace. He ran he raised his voice. And are you here to defend your country? For now it is we who are on the defensive. You are here to protect your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your grandparents, your people, your Volk. They are depending on you. Even the Bolsheviks, the Russian communist pigs, break through. When then they will win. Blah, blah, blah. If the Bolsheviks, the Russian communist pigs, break through, they will win the war, and the horror beyond imagining will befall Germany, your homeland. He nodded. That is all, he said. Fall out. More trucks and other vehicles arrived. We prepared to board, awaiting the order. Another whistle squealed. Then the voice of a lance corporal bellowed. 300 pairs of heels clicked together. Rifles clattered in unison as an entire company snapped to attention. Rammed straight. In the black uniform of the SS, an overweight, speckled officer made his way to the forefront and addressed us, his voice loud and high pitched. You will be reinforcing and resupplying the 15th Rifle Corps of the 4th Division at Ternopil in the Soviet Union. The 4th Division has suffered heavy casualties. The battalion headquarters there remains under siege. For almost 3 months, we have held firm and repelled the Russian assaults, but our men are malnourished and running low on munitions. It is your job to help reinforce our troops there and bring them badly needed supplies. Be alert at all times. Contingents of the Russian army and partisans will undoubtedly be encountered on the road ahead. Heil Hitler. He saluted rather indifferently. Then his hands behind his back ambled off as if they were suddenly going for a walk, deep in thought. He stopped and turned and looked at all of us. Then he spoke loudly, and may God be with you. Our platoon was our platoon climbed aboard the trucks. The canvas sidings The canvas sidings were rolled up and tied, and the benches were secured to the bed of the vehicle with steel support rods. Wooden crates of supplies went under the seats into a line down the aisle between the seats. Double men and two other veterans climbed aboard, and three of them hefting heavy caliber machine gun and long belts of ammunition. Behind the cab of the truck, the two sat the weapon onto a rotating mount. The other trucks in the column were being similarly equipped. As they worked arming and locking down the machine gun, I stared at the back of Doberman's head. On the back of his scalp was a sausage sized area where little hair grew. The skin was bright pink and wrinkled, and from the folds of the wrinkles sprouted a few black hairs and round, spongy looking lumps of fresh flesh. Looking at the man made me ill. I sat down on one of the hard wooden benches, averting my gaze from him. Jacob and I and some other boys exchanged glances, silently communicating our revulsion. I did not know it, of course, not, nor did any of us, that we would soon be seeing things 1,000 times worse. The convoy snaked across the landscape in a rutted dirt roads. In the truck, we sat stiffly. All of us were about the exact same age except for Dolman, who was manning the machine gun behind the cab, and the other two veterans. Sick with fear, we just sat there, rifles clamped between our knees, rocking with the motion of the truck. Rather than soldiers, we looked like prisoners condemned to death. The only one of our platoon who seemed unafraid was an athletic looking boy named Myers Fushnet. I heard him say repeatedly that he looked forward to battle. To him, it was all just a grand adventure. He seemed genuinely unafraid. Our truck carried crated supplies, as did many others. Some trucks carried no passenger, only munitions, piled high under heavy tarpaulins. At the front, rear, and middle of our convoy were armored vehicles, all equipped with 50 millimeter cannon. Our highest ranking officers rode in Steiner's Jeep like vehicles. Traveling alongside the trucks and armored cars were two motorcycles, both of which had a sidecar for a passenger, usually a veteran soldier with a submachine gun. Hey, Ink Damon, how you doing, love?
Hi, Demon.
You're supposed to be modding there, sweetheart.
Hi.
I think he's gone now.
I don't know. Every time I look, even if somebody's still there, it only shows up one view.
I don't know. How you doing, Ink Damon? Oh, there he goes. He's still there.
Hi, Demon. He got me an awesome mod.
Yes, because you are an awesome mod.
Oh,
Our highest rank. Oh.
we are reading Soldier X. Well, Mom's reading it. I'm eating cookie dough.
I don't know if they can hear you all the way back there or not, honey. Might have to type that. I forgot where it was. Though we saw no sign of the enemy, we did begin to see evidence of the war, of battles and bombings. We passed through several small towns, most of them in ruins. Wrecked vehicles, both civilian and military, laying aside the road. The oldest one of these was a Mercedes, sorry, the oddest one of these was a Mercedes Benz convertible. It lay sort of sideways in a pool created by a bomb crater. Its back seat filled with brown water, which a quacking duck.
Only been trying to get hold of you for the past 5 minutes.
It's not ringing once. Oh, my phone's in there. What's up?
What were we doing for dinner?
What do you want for dinner?
Food.
I can make spaghetti, I guess.
Alright. Just wondering. Alright. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys, I'm gonna put this up. I guess everybody wants dinner. But I will try to do this in a little bit. But I've got to go make dinner because everybody's hungry. So I will talk to everybody later. Sorry for making it so short. But
hi, Matt.
hey, Matt, how are you, love?
Can you bring this inside?
Yep, give me a minute. But I will no, you bring the cookie dough because I got all this stuff to bring in. I will talk to you guys later, but I'm gonna make dinner because everybody's son just came out and got me. So love you guys. Bye. It still says you need 50 subs. Just give it time, honey. It's all got to catch up. You got to realize YouTube Studio is 5 days different. If you look up YouTube Studio, if you have that downloaded, if you look at where it goes to how far you are to being a mod, it's like the last option to your right, I believe. But if you look that up, you'll notice the date that it was last updated and today's date, it's 5 days behind. So have some patience. You'll be able to stream probably tomorrow, the next day, probably the latest. Okay. But as long as your thing says you have 50 subscribers, you'll be able to stream probably by tomorrow. I know it sucks. I had to wait like 48 hours before it would let me do it. All right. Love you guys. Bye.